Friends. So today let us discuss about the static keyword. All these days I used to say that the control flow is that OS sends the control to the main function. Every program starts executing from the main function. That is what I was saying all these days. That was because we were not familiar with the concept of static statements. Now, when I use the keyword static before, a statement, that statement is called a static statement, basically. So now the control flow would be as shown. It is shown in the bottom part of the board where I have told from the OS, all the static statements will get first executed, only after which the main function would be executed. Before there was no concept of static only. That's why I wasn't telling this. We used to directly say that OS starts the execution from the main function. But now, since we are studying the static keyword, this also we should know. Static statements will get executed only after which main function would be executed. Anyway, let me just read the definition which I have written there now. So static keyword is used to declare static variables. Static variables preserve their value till their last use in the scope. In other words, for global variables, the scope is the entire code. For local variables, within the block, you can use it anywhere. I hope you know the meaning of block. If you don't, I'm just going to mention it. Block is nothing but whatever is there within the curly braces. That is only a block. Anyway, more on which I would be speaking later. Static variables, OS executes all the static statements only after which the other statements would be executed. In other words, the static statements are executed only once. That's what I've mentioned in the third point there. They are initialized only once. Okay. And then when you say return from the main function, until then the static variables will exist. That's what I've mentioned. The static variables exist till the end of the program. OS executes the static statements, after which main function would be executed, after which any user defined functions would be executed, and at the termination of the program everything would be rolled back. Back to the main function, control would come. After the end of main function, control would go to the static statements. All the memory that was allocated would be deallocated or freed. Only after that, control would go back to the OS. It's a complete cycle or a rollback, you can call it as. Anyway, so how do we use this static in a code, if you ask me? I've written the syntax. We can do it by using the keyword static before variable initialization or declaration. As I've written, static and data type and then variable name is equal to variable value. Static, it may not be completely clear right now, but once we see the program, it will be clear. And when you go back and read the definition after that, it should be very clear. So let us go to the program. In the first program, I've used normal variables. And in the second program, I've replaced it with static variables. Let us see what the difference is. Anyway, in the first program, as usual, it should begin with stdio include stdio.h, which I have not written because it would be a waste of time. Anyway, I've started, and then within the main function, I have a normal variable int x is equal to 3. And then, I've said while x is greater than 0, and then I've opened curly braces. And then I've said int y is equal to 5. And then I'm incrementing y. I hope you can also see the memory representation that I have written also simultaneously, so that the program execution would be clearer. When I say int y is equal to 5, 5 will go and sit in y. When I say y plus plus, y will have the value 6. And then I would print the value of y as I have shown. And then not only that, I will decrement x also. X would be 2 now. Anyway, so this is looping one time. Like that, 3 times it would loop. Not only that, as I have mentioned before, for local variables, the validity is within the block in which it is declared. For example, block I have told the meaning, opening and closing of curly braces. So the block in which variable y was declared is nothing but the while loop block. So only within that block you can use y. Coming out of the block, you are not supposed to use y. X also. X you have declared within the main function. So the scope for x is nothing but within the main function you can use. I hope this concept of using variables within the blocks is clear to you. Even if not, I will be speaking more about blocks in my other videos. For now, remember that block means opening and closing of curly braces. And only if you have declared within a variable within a block, you can use it only within a block. You can't use it outside the block and all, you can't use it. As I have declared int y is equal to 3 within the block of, I've written in the comments beginning of the block and end of the block, I will be able to use y within that. Anyway, so I hope this first program is completely clear for you. It would obviously execute the printf statement 3 times. And the value of y every time in the while loop it's getting reinitialized to 5. So and then it's getting incremented, so every time it would print 6, 6, 6, like that it would print. Anyway, so if we were to use static variable, y as a static variable, what would happen? That is the issue. Anyway, let me just make a small correction. So, I had just left out the keyword static because I wanted the second program to be, the same as first program. Now I have written the keyword static in the second program. When you look at it, that's the only difference between the two programs. Everything else is the same. So what happens when we use static keyword, you may ask? Notice it. So the control comes within the while loop. Even before that, I've told you all the static statements, in other words, all the statements which has static keyword would get executed even before the main function. That's what I've told you. So the static int y is equal to 5, that gets executed first. Even before the main function, that statement gets executed. So 5 will go and sit in static variable, integer variable y. And then control comes to the main function. Int x is equal to 3 gets executed. Control comes within the while loop. Again, static statement won't get executed. Why will static statement get executed again when it has gotten executed already? Initially only it has gotten executed. It won't get executed again and again. Once only it will get executed within the main function. That's what I've told. Before the main function. So that statement is ignored by the compiler. It will do y plus plus. So 6 will go and sit. And then again 6 is printed. Then while looping for the second time also, why would it execute static statement again? All static statements are executed at once, even before the main function. That's how the compiler works. So initialization and all won't happen. Only y plus plus would happen second time. And then it would print the value of 7. While looping for the third time also, it doesn't execute static statements. Y plus plus would occur. The value of y is 8 now. This is what happens. So one thing you have to understand is all static statements would get executed first only together. At one shot it would get executed. After that all the main functions, all the normal statements would be executed. This is what happens when you use the static keyword. Now if you read the theory, it would be completely clear to you. I'm going to just read it once. Static keyword, it is used to declare static variables. Static variables preserve their value till the last use in their scope. That I've already discussed about. Static variables are initialized only once. That only is happening here. Int y is equal to 5. It got initialized only once. While looping for the second time, did it work? Was it initialized? No. In other words, they are initialized only once and they exist till the end of the program. I hope static variables is completely clear. I know this video was a bit lengthy and you might be thinking that the pace was a little slow, but since this is an important concept, I wanted everyone to understand this particular concept. Thank you for watching this video. I hope I made static keyword clear to everyone. Thank you.